All right. Well, thank you all for jumping in on our April chapter meeting. We're going to be turning things over to Chris here in just a few moments on an awesome presentation on best-in-class fall protection programs. Before we jump into that, though, we do have a handful of updates. Nothing significant, but still want to just kind of keep you guys up to date on what is going on in the chapter here. As always, we want to give a shout out to our platinum sponsor, Indeed Safety. They've been a fantastic sponsor for us. They're also the catalyst for us to be able to stand up our professional development fund here for Southern Nevada chapter. So please, if you're ever looking for anything on the safety consultation side, they're a great resource for us. Same thing for those of you that are on the line too, though. We're always looking for anybody that is looking to either sponsor a meeting, sponsor an outing, have any kind of awesome thing that you guys are doing in your industry that you want to bring forward to safety professionals. Please, we have plenty of opportunities. If you want to kick that over to the chapter, we're happy to look into it, and always looking for additional sponsors and additional professionals that we can roll into our Rolodex and work into our meetings and our presentations for our members. So getting into our technical meetings and meeting schedule. I know we kind of cover this every meeting, but in case you don't know, you can scan this QR code here. It will take you over to our events page. We do technical meetings third Tuesday online. We have had a hybrid meeting that we tried test case in this previous year, and it didn't seem like it worked out pretty well. So that's definitely something that we are looking at in the future of possibly doing some additional hybrid meetings. Probably not for the remainder of this this chapter year, but the chapter year ends earlier than the actual calendar year. So hopefully we can work a few more of those opportunities in coming up on the schedule. We also try to do about 2 to 3 mixers per quarter. The locations definitely vary, but that's also opportunities for you guys. If you got some awesome safety processes that you're doing at your workplace, and you think that that would be something that'd be beneficial for other safety pros to kind of get eyes on, please kick those ideas over to us. We're always looking for any opportunity we can either bring awareness to the processes that you are doing or find best practices that we can adapt for our industries as well. So please kick those over to us. If you ever want to reach out to us, you can get a hold of us, obviously, at our website. That's always available. You can hit us up on LinkedIn, and then we also have a monitored email inbox at updates@southernnevada.ASSP.org. Any message that you kick over to us, there's multiple of us on the board that monitor that inbox regularly. So we are happy to take your messages or any suggestions that you have for us moving forward. Continuing on with some of our upcoming events, Bobby, I know you were on the call earlier. Bobby has graciously stood up our study group for CSP and ASP. That's not necessarily just pigeonholed into those professional certifications, but those are the ones that we are focusing on for the purposes of this. But if you are in the process of looking for receiving a professional certification in the safety realm, or you're currently studying for one of those certifications, this is an awesome opportunity. We have some events both May 1st and June 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Carrie, who is also another active member and board member here with Southern Nevada chapter, has graciously given us a location that we can also piggyback off of there at CSN. I can remember acronyms today. So that we also have a meeting room available for these study groups too. So thank you both for standing this up. For those of you that are looking for certifications, though, I always throw this out here. This is an awesome opportunity to help us build this process out because it's something that's new for Southern Nevada. We want to make it effective for what our members are looking for and the content that they're either struggling with, or maybe they're the ones that are championing that content and want to bring that forward to help some of our other professionals that are preparing for that get a better understanding of some of the topics. Because for those of you that are on the call that have gone through those certifications, you know it can be intimidating at first, especially when you start getting into the subject matter that's involved in those. So awesome opportunity. Please get involved. If this is something that is successful, it's also something that we're looking to try to continue on as well, to make as a continuing opportunity for our chapter members that want to get involved. This is also something that's not necessarily just open to chapter members. You can jump on the study group. However, one of the caveats to that, and we always put it out there, is for our members, part of this is also giving you additional justification to go for our professional development fund, which I'll touch on later, which gives some scholarship opportunities both through us at the local chapter, and also kind of piggybacking off of that, there is some opportunities at the national chapter or the national organization level that you could possibly jump on if you are looking for professional development for either support on your certification, or if you're going through a career path that you're studying now for a safety professional degree or something along those lines. So lots of opportunities. Also coming up on May 20th, we have our next chapter meeting is going to be hosted. Both of our largest professionals on the safety side for the state of Nevada are going to be joining and hosting this meeting. We have Bill Gardner that's coming in from Nevada OSHA, and we also have our own Todd Schultz with Nevada SCATS that's going to help us kind of go through and hopefully answer any questions that we might still be running into on the new NV heat illness regulations that have rolled out, and OSHA's interpretation on how that's going to be enforced. So that is definitely a good one, especially since we are already hitting 90-degree temperatures a couple times through the week. So if you haven't looked at that regulation, you might be a little behind the game, but you definitely want to dust that off and start getting into it now, because it is definitely rolling out pretty quick. But they're going to be answering any questions that might come out of that. So definitely come prepared if you have anything that either you or your organization is questioning on the enforcement or how the new standard is going to be set up. So, and then I already did kind of touch on it, but again, we're giving away free money. If you guys are going through any kind of professional certification, please go to our website, submit an application. The application on the website, we actually just reviewed in the board meeting yesterday. It does have some additional information that needs to be put up there that requires the candidate to submit directly. However, the reason that it's aligned that way is because, one, we want to make sure that we're doing an appropriate evaluation for the funds of the chapter. We want to make sure that we're actually going towards a candidate that's legitimately going for some kind of certification. But in addition to that, it mirrors what the national the National Society does for their development funds as well. So if once you have the application, it's almost the exact same process when you submit up to the national level. So you can not just apply for us, you can take basically that same information, copy and paste, and go through the larger certification process as well. So please take advantage of that. Get your name in there if you haven't already, because this is something, as we said, it's our goal this year already to try to at least have 2 award winners that we can hand out before the end of this calendar year. So please make sure to jump on that, take advantage of the opportunity. With that, I am going to go ahead and turn things over to Russ to introduce our speaker. Oh.
I was muted, my bad.
There we
go. So yes, I'm really excited to introduce one of my colleagues to you folks. I met Chris Eich, gosh, probably I started, kind of digitally interacting with him a couple years ago, and then we were able to meet at ASSP's Professional Development Conference in Denver last year, and we both have been fortunate to be in organizations that really turn us loose to make a difference at reversing America's fall fatality trend. And Chris has a big responsibility on his shoulders with the Department of Energy's efforts in the Oak Ridge cleanup site in Tennessee. And he takes that responsibility really seriously. And at the same time, I know I can always go to Chris for encouragement and laughs. This guy has just been, it's been an honor to journey on fall protection improvement with Chris. I count him one of my closest colleagues in this hazard. And when our chapter program committee wanted to talk about falls this month in April in preparation for the stand down next month, it was an easy choice. So I am so thrilled that Chris was able to join us today. I'm going to be advancing his slides because someone ran over a fiber optic line over in his neck of the woods. But so if you guys can bear with him and I, I'll be running the slides and he'll tell me when to move them. But absolutely, I'm so excited for you to hear about what he's been up to the past few years with DOE and Oak Ridge. Chris, take it away. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you all and to share this with you. It's been a lot of fun to share this in Denver a couple of times. Shared it with VPP assessors multiple times. So it's been quite a journey over the last year, to say the least. So Russell, thank you very much for that. And yes, we had a bit of a conduct of operations situation here with apparently somebody not reading their work package appropriately and figuring out what line to cut, and they cut our internet cable. So we are dead in the water as a company of 2,500 right now. So about 80% of our company actually went home from that mistake today. So yeah, situations that we try to avoid in our daily work operations. So as Russell said, my name is Chris Eich. I'm one of the health and safety representatives here for the United Cleanup of Oak Ridge, UCOR. And our primary mission is to deactivate and demolish the Manhattan Project for the Department of Energy. And since we've grown, we've actually moved into some of the Department of Energy's reactors, the first reactors that were on the planet. So we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of challenging tasks ahead of us. And one of the biggest things we look at from a health and safety standpoint are working surface conditions and working at heights. And that's been one of our biggest challenges that we've overcome in the last few years. So it's been quite a journey, and it's been a lot of fun, and the reason why I like sharing it with everybody. So Russ, if you could go forward, please. So our whole goal with our fall protection program was we were very basic. If you think about it, our company was OSHA. That was it. What does the law say? And it's been that way for several decades. And as safety professionals, we hate to hear that one statement. Well, this is the way we've always done it. Well, that never sits well with me in certain situations. And a colleague of mine actually came to us from an AECOM project, the Wholesome Dam project, and went through a very similar growth period with their program. And when he challenged me, he said, hey, take our program and let's see where we stand in comparison to other agencies. So there's where we wanted to go from basic OSHA and embrace the ANSI Z359 fall protection code into our whole program. So it was kind of one of those learning curves for me. Where do I start? And basically, Russ, if you want to go forward one, we started looking at the trends. What are the trends in the industry? Why do we want to make changes? And this slide actually has changed since I initially did this presentation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics came out for 2023, and unfortunately that number from 850 rose to 885 in 2023. So unfortunately, as I've developed this program with UCOR, the industry is still changing, and unfortunately it's not making things better for our workforce. So looking at all those different trends, how many regulations do we have? How many laws do we have? And then PPE. So many companies just love to dive right into the PPE and say, hey, they're protected, go to work. And that never sit well with me either. And as you can see, and I talk to folks, colleagues in the industry that Russell and I both know at LJB, and that number of PPE sales in 2023 and 2024 was creeping just over $1 billion in fall protection alone. This isn't gloves, this isn't hard hats, helmets, safety glasses, this is literally fall protection equipment. And to me, that's terrifying. So after we looked at the trends and where we wanted to grow as a company, Russ, if you want to go forward one. We wanted to do a baseline. Where are we as a company in comparison to other agencies in the country? And one, I started with our parent company. Our parent company is now Amentum, and their program, very robust, not only nationally, but internationally, and working with different governments as well. So I literally took the Amentum fall protection program and compared it with ours. And on 2 different Word documents, what was our document missing? I copied and pasted it over into ours. And then as I went through that evolution, I grabbed the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, another vetted program in fall protection. And again, did that same crosswalk to where I got to with my book. This is my crosswalk going between Amentum, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and then finally, if I had only started with ANSI Z359, probably would have eliminated 90% of my research to see where we were as a company. And as a company, we were falling short tremendously, not only in a procedural program, but training and then administering the program in the field. It was just very, hey, OSHA says do this. And that's what really kind of threw us a curveball and threw me a curveball with the situation we had in the field where we had an employee up on a roof exposed to an edge and really nobody even thought, hey, time out, what's going wrong here? So again, the fun of rebirth of a program. Okay, Russ, you can go forward one. The biggest thing when we started doing our crosswalk between Amentum, U.S. Army Corps, and ANSI, my colleague that had joined us from the Olmsted Dam project was very good friends with some of the engineers and safety professionals with LJB Incorporated. Introducing them to me was wonderful because we got to meet with Mr. Kramer, Mr. Craig Galechka, and Jake Williams from LJB, who pretty much, in my opinion, are the leaders in the industry when it comes to fall protection. And as a company, being a government agency, we have to go through those spend money wisely processes. And when they said to me, okay, well, we've got to send this proposal that you want out for bid. And I'm like, okay, well, time out. The people that we want to bring in literally train everybody else in the country and work with OSHA directly. They're on the board of ANSI. So why, if I hire somebody else, they're getting that knowledge from them anyways. So we were able to procure a sole source form and fortunately was approved to have LJB support us and help us redevelop our program from stem to stern. And mostly our training. So without these three gentlemen, personally, would probably be a very different outlook from what the last 2 years have been. And moving forward, like Russ said, we coordinate together, we communicate together, but at the same time, I actually text Mr. Kramer this morning on a question about our refresher classes. And literally within 5 minutes, he was thumbs upping and, you know, communicating right back with me. So as busy as Mr. Kramer is, he has always time for those simple questions or if anybody reaches out to him. So he's one of those mentors and individuals that if you get to know him and meet him, he's a value of just not only being human, but a wealth of knowledge and experience. So LJB has been a huge partner for us. And again, especially when it came to our training and educating our staff. All right, Russ, if you can go forward one. So it was not just a singular event. It wasn't just my doing. It took an entire team, including LJB, to go through this entire process. In the DOE world, there's so many hoops and things you have to jump through just to get a document edited or document opened. So without our management teams, our programs teams, even several individuals in our health and safety from the field, helping review and evaluate to say, hey, this won't work once we get it applied into the field. And then document control, operations. And then, like I said, we brought in LJB, our industry experts. And as I said before, the biggest thing we wanted to focus on was education and training. And with everything that was involved and all the players involved to help us with this, when we got our draft of our procedure and gave it to the group for comment and thoughts, we wound up with over 350 comments back, most of which were positive, but a lot of them did question, how is this going to apply in the field? How is this going to address a worker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, with that team effort, we were able to go through all of those comments to resolution to ultimately get to the program and the procedure that we have today. So again, an undertaking like this, you're going to need help. You need teammates, and you need those experts who are there to help and mentor, especially mentor and help you along the way. If you can go forward, Russ. So the major improvements that we had, we were looking at, from the OSHA standpoint, it was just who's trained, go to work. So now as we embrace the ANSI Z359, we really dove into those roles and responsibilities. Who's the actual worker, the authorized person? Who's our competent people? Are they trained? Are they vetted? And then even our qualified people, our engineering staff, to make sure that they had either the requisite knowledge in the field or have they gone through additional training. And as you see on the next point there, the training modules. We worked with and procured LJB's training modules, the authorized person class, the qualified person class, or competent person class, and then even had them come in and educate our program administrators, educate our qualified persons. So training has been one of our, that's the foundation, that's the building block from everything. And without that, that's, what do we have? What program do we have? You can put all the words on paper that you want, but unless you actually get it in front of people and have them understand it, that's where we really put the meat of our labor, was into that. Obviously, we touched on the hierarchy of controls, and when you look at the ANSI hierarchy of controls, in the fall protection realm, it spells it out very explicitly and very detailed. So having that very detailed hierarchy of controls, even for our managers and project management staff who always say, well, I'm used to doing it this way, I'm going to keep doing it this way. And having them see a different way has been wonderful. Our fall hazard evaluation process, we never had one. It was just, let's go to work. And then we got into actual planning, spelling out exactly how we're going to protect a worker. Are we going to use passive controls? Are we going to use active controls? And one of the biggest things we looked at is a permitting process. We've all seen a confined space permit, correct? And we as a company started to look and say, well, if this is the leading killer in our industry, falls to a lower level, why do we not have a permit for that? So we even developed a new permitting process to where our facility managers and our health and safety management actually have a second view of one of those fall protection plans to make sure that it's authorized and it's ready to go. And another key piece we really looked into was rescue. What happens in the worst case scenario? And again, as I've talked to a lot of iron workers in our classes, they've never even thought of the rescue process. It has always been, how do I get myself out of this situation? So it's been a huge learning curve. It's been a lot of fun in growing and sharing this new growth with especially our workforce. So Russ, if you can go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our analysis process. We are going to spend a lot of time in looking at the worksite conditions, looking at a situation an employee brings to our attention and says, hey, we have a hazard over here that we need to look at and address. So we put together a document that our competent people, our authorized persons, even our qualified engineers can go out in the field, and with this document, I like to call it our dry erase board in the field, start to just pinpoint and document what are the actual conditions, what types of scenarios do you have out there. And then they can take that analysis and then start to look at different options using the hierarchy of controls. Are we going to stay in a passive means? Are we going to go into active means? And then going systematically through that to figure out what's the best option to protect that worker. And once they develop that thought process, they can put it on a plan where it spells out exactly where's the worker going to go, A to B, how they're going to tie off, what methods are they going to use. It's all laid out in that plan. And then the last piece of that plan is, how are we going to rescue? And then, do they need additional training? Do they need additional equipment? It's all spelled out into that plan to make it very simple for that worker in the field. And then, as I mentioned before, the permit. This gives our management team another opportunity to look at that fall protection plan and to think and even question back to the planning team to say, hey, do we really want to put a worker into this situation, and have them justify to that safety management team and the facility management team, yes, this is the safest way possible, looking at risk analysis, etc. And then have them go, yes, okay, we're going to authorize this type of work, even though it is the most hazardous. Yes, everybody has their thoughts, put extra eyes on it. And then once we get to the field, the workers feel that much more confident in the plan and the process. So there's where it's really the rubber meets the road, if you will, because having that workforce buy into what we're trying to accomplish from a management standpoint and a health and safety standpoint has been monumental. And Russ, if you can go forward one, please. Our classroom is very hands-on now. We set up tripods in the classroom. We have tons of gear and equipment. Yes, we have a lot of lecture that we have to go through. We have to touch on the laws. We have to touch on the ANSI and the roles, etc. But once we get to the PPE level, here's where, you know, a lot of workers in the field, let's face it, I mean, when I look back at my career and how I was taught in fall protection, I was taught wrong. And that taught wrong gave me a confidence that, hey, I'm fine. And then as I started to look into the ANSI process and learning from other leaders in the industry, how I was taught wrong and how my thought process was wrong. So going through this hands-on process and hearing the feedback from especially our iron workers who say the same thing. I had no idea I was doing things wrong. I hear that constantly, and I love hearing it. And I love hearing their questions and their feedback, especially because when I ask the question, does tied off equal protected? And 90% of the class in the beginning of the class says, yeah, you're tied off, you're good. And then once I pick them up in a harness with the tripod and they feel their body weight suspended off the ground for a few seconds, they have an understanding because I ask them that question. Does tied off equal protected again? And everybody says, no, put me down. But then they have an understanding of how dangerous this equipment is and that reliance on PPE, now they start to question, is there another way of doing this instead of just jumping right to fall protection equipment? And then when we get into the simple SRLs, the self-retracting lifelines, how many different classes there are, the class A, class B, class 1, class 2, and how they work and how they operate. So many of our workforce and the people we've educated had no idea how they functioned. They just called them their yo-yos and I'm good. So now they have that major understanding of how a harness fit works, what it feels like if you're going to fall, how SRLs work, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been so much fun to develop this training module with LJB and then start to present it to the workforce. Okay, Ross, please. So as our implementation and our progress has developed over the past couple of years, we have 2 procedures now. We've got our basic program, which is here's how our whole program is going to work. And then our second document, Proc Eich 2006, that's the actionable items that are basically our field procedure. And we went live with those in November of 2023. And yes, some of the slide information is changed, but ever since I went live with this program, for me, it's been a non-ending whirlwind of, hey, go to this project. Hey, go to that project. Hey, we need you to teach another class. Oh, can you teach 3 more classes? So it's been overwhelming, but it's been so rewarding at the same time because as you can see in the training completed, the program administrator level, LJB educated 3 of our staff to be program administrators. So we have help. Our qualified persons, we started with 3. We lost 1 in attrition as people grow in a career and change. And then we had LJB come back recently and trained 5 more. So now we're up to 7 total. In attrition, I had 10 trainers to start. LJB had educated 10 of us, 3 to teach the competent person level, and out of the other 7 to teach the authorized person class. But again, as people changed in careers, we're down to 1 trainer, and that's me, unfortunately. So we're going to go through the process of bringing LJB back to do the train the trainer class. It's an 80-hour class. It's a lot of investment, it's a lot of time, but we feel it's well worth educating your trainers to be able to clearly share this material with the workforce. Our competent rescuers, we have 65 now trained in our company, where before our competent person level in fall protection was, hey, have you ever worn a harness? Yeah, I know what it works like. Hey, great, guess what? You're my competent person. Now we put through those people who we feel have the experience and the requisite knowledge, and then put them through that 3-day class. And when they come out of it, have that understanding of, I know what I'm going to do. and our authorized person, our workers. That number, when I originally put this module or presentation together, you can see at 1,100. Right now, just checked this morning before we lost internet, and I'm over 1,900 people that we've trained to this new program and to this new methodology of thinking how dangerous fall protection is and how to work through the right thing and doing the right thing. So it's been just an unbelievable journey for me personally, and then having our workforce see things from a different light, that's been the most rewarding part to me. So, and Russ, we can go forward. Since this, the start of this whole process, literally about 3.5 years ago, and then when we went live with this and sharing this, I've been invited to go to Denver, where I met Russ in person. I shared this presentation at the ASSP. Then we were invited to go back to the Denver again to present this with the VPPA. And I was unaware at the time, but our company was selected, and our programmatic growth and fall protection won the innovation award for the VPPA conference. And just quite an amazing honor to win that and share that with all of our workers in our company. For me, that was the pinnacle of this whole growth for me. We've been invited to present this with the International Society of Fall Protection, a symposium that we did as well. I shared this with Savannah River, the DOE complex there, and in their growth, they actually brought LJB in as a partner as well, and are going through that same mentorship and partnering together to grow their whole program, so to make their process safer for their workforce as well. So, and finally, Russ, if you mind. The last slide there, that's me. Work with UCOR now on my 10th year here out at DOE. It's been quite a journey. It's been quite a growth. And when I was honored to have that subject matter expert role bestowed to me for fall protection, again, was just one of those career defining moments for me. And okay, what's the challenge? And when I first took on the SME role, there was the OSHA program. And since then, we've had this complete regrowth and rebirth of a program from literally stem to stern. And by doing so, I've met Russ, I've met Mr. Kramer, Mr. Grlechka, and so many others in the industry that have just been open and humble and willing to share. And what has translated to for us as a company is that trust in a workforce. That workforce trusts us. They trust the process. They understand how dangerous certain things are because of that knowledge base now. And without that, our workforce is skeptical. And to me, having a skeptical workforce is dangerous. That bad culture, it doesn't breed that speaking ability, that see something, say something thought process. So now, whenever we get a worker at height, they always have that question in the back of their mind. Could we do something different? So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that was our growth for the last 4 years.
Thank you, Chris. Fantastic. Anyone have questions that they want to pitch in and get Chris's insight on?
This is a lot more fun in person, by the way.
Rick's got one.
Yeah, Rick's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, no, first, excellent presentation, and congratulations on what you've accomplished. That's
Thank you.
Very impressive. So I have a few questions, but I'll let other people jump in, obviously. But so for your when you put your permit together, is that for any time an employee is working at height, or is it only when they need fall protection? Yeah.
When if we go through the survey process and we come up with different ideas, and as the team starts to figure out, can we use a guardrail, can we use a lift, right? Then good, we've gone through that process of elimination, right? If we have to go into the active systems, okay, there's where the survey turns into the plan and gets very well detailed. And then that's where the permit process comes in. If we're going to put an employee in an active system outside of a lift and MEWP, yeah, we're going to have that permit to have that higher level of review and that higher level of approval to put this worker at that level. So that, again, having that permit, definitely was a tough pill to swallow for certain managers because they just wanted to go. But once they understood why we're doing the permit process, then they felt a lot more confident putting workers in those situations.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, and that was kind of led to my the next question about that is, so once you established that permit process, did you have very many disciplinary or times where you had to hold employees accountable?
Fortunately, using the class and literally lifting a worker off the ground only a couple of inches and having them experience what it feels like to have their own body weight just naturally suspended opened their eyes to that. Okay, that doesn't feel good when just being picked up, controlled, and slowly, and having them imagine having a 4-foot free fall or a 2-foot free fall. And that experience and seeing another worker being lifted off the ground and then talking through that experience, that if I just did that in the class and avoided about a lot of other things, yes, we would miss a lot of the class, but having that opportunity for a worker, one, to see it or experience it themselves, is extremely eye-opening. Because if you have iron workers, I love them to death. I love all of our craft, but iron workers in particular, very brash, very, tough. You got to tell me what to do. But then you lift one of those guys who've never fallen off the ground, and that tough, brash attitude goes to, wait a minute, time out. I don't like this. And it's like, this is what you've been wearing for the last few years of your career. And I love the first person who gets picked up in the class because I can watch everybody else in the classroom tightening their leg straps, tightening down their chest straps, because they all just saw what's about to happen. And as I randomly pick through the class, they're like, that's not happening to me. So again, it's that education level. It's that we haven't had, knock on wood, that what we had in the past where, hey, tighten your leg straps before you get in that lift. Hey, why aren't you connected in the lift? I don't have to now. They understand the risk. They understand the hazards, and they're policing themselves and their buddies and I've even seen them in the field, just kind of off in the distance. And I heard somebody, hey, you better tighten your leg straps, or watch another person help somebody get their harness fit just right. So our workforce has gone from, let me get this right. Hey, we've had a corrective action, to now we've got a team of people looking out to do the right thing.
Nice. Excellent.
Excellent.
So
Thank
I've
you.
got one on training, Chris.
Yes.
And since I have the slides captive, I'm going to run backwards.
Go ahead.
Did you set out, I mean, gosh, like I don't want to necessarily throw shade at,
Which slide are you looking at?
Oh, I'm sorry, the training
Okay,
program,
got it.
your PAs, your QPs,
Yep.
all that stuff. We cannot make a competent person in 4 hours, right? Like, despite
No.
what any sales rep might want to say,
No.
a competent person doesn't have what they need in 4 hours. So it was really refreshing for me to see that this is how much time you guys invest in your training. This is kind of, I guess, so it's kind of like a cart before the horse question. Did you set a goal for how much time to spend and then fill it with content, or did you?
No. We literally, when we were communicating with LJB, and when they wanted to teach the train the trainer class to us, as we were going through the class, we were literally mapping out what pieces we wanted for our authorized person class and our competent person class. We don't use rope access, for instance. We don't have people descending off the side of a building, washing windows or, installing anchor points. We don't do rope access systems. We may in the future, but that whole portion of it, we stayed away from. So we kind of tailored it to how we do work. So no, I didn't just bullet point, here's what we want. We literally, as we went through that class, hit the high points of what needed to be in our class. And then we sat down as a group and said, okay, how long is this going to take us to do? And when we really started looking at the materials and the modules that LJB had put together, it's quite extensive. And yeah, we've had a lot of subcontractors come in and go, I have to sit through an 8-hour class. And then once they get to the end of the class, they're like, holy cow, what I didn't know was monumental. So at the end of it, that's where, people's eyes are open, and those subcontractors go talk to other subcontractors and vice versa. And then our competent person, yeah, it terrifies me when a manufacturer says, 4 hours is good. I can spend 4 hours on just equipment inspection, teaching a competent person how to do equipment inspection process properly. I mean,
Right.
that's just one small piece of the whole thing. And then you want to have a competent person in the field who's able to watch and understand what they're looking at versus, hey, I just got somebody up there. Hey, you filled the paperwork out. Great. Instead of being able to potentially see things before they happen. So, yes, we spend a lot of time in it. And that was one of the biggest pills for our upper management to swallow, was the amount of investment that was going to take. And once they got to meet Mr. Kramer and Mr. Galechka and their processes and their feedback that they've shared with us, and then at the end of our class, we've all gone through classes and had that feedback form. And so many people pencil whip that. I've got several dozen, more than several dozen, hundreds where people actually wrote out a positive comment or a thank you or a thought process of what we learned, what didn't know, what I know now. So yeah, it's
That's cool. That's great.
Hey, Chris, this is Rick again. Sorry.
You're
I got a
okay.
bunch of questions. But you kind of hit on it, and I'm really curious. You talked about with senior management, your executives, getting them on board. I was kind of curious if you got tasked with this from someone senior than you, or, if you had to convince them, like what are some of the strategies you guys used? If you could kind of go back to the beginning of, how did you guys get that implemented to get them? Because the hours of training that you're doing here, it just way beyond, I can guarantee, like any casino property here in Las Vegas. So I'd really be interested in some of your strategies, techniques you use to get them in.
It really, there's where the partnership came in with LJB and others, was how am I going to address this with management? And that was, unfortunately, I can't get to my computer, but I can email you guys a copy of the presentation that I actually took to our corporate management and shared with them of where we are, where we want to go, what it looks like. And it took me a few weeks to develop. It's only a couple of slides, but I went through probably 15 different draft versions of it to nail it down. But you literally can take the BLS statistics and take it to a management team and say, look, here's the trend. And the other piece that Tom Kramer shared with our management team once he came to meet with them was, what do they do in England when it comes to fall protection systems?
Yep.
How do they treat a company, right? If you look at how England does fall protection, that's the least preferred option. And the reason why employers look at it as the least preferred option is the citations. We, as the United States, we go through OSHA, we go through limited liability corporations, et cetera, et cetera. England, the government, if an employer has a worker fall, that company owner can't hide behind a lawyer, can't hide behind an LLC. That owner is directly cited up to 10 million pounds. So having their mentality brought to us and share that with our management of a single fall, what that does to an employee's family, what that does to an employee, and then what does that do to us as a company, right? So it took a little while to develop, but ultimately, once I was able to present it to our management team, to them, it was a no-brainer. And budgets came out of nowhere all of a sudden. So it's a challenge, but I mean, if you literally sit down and show even if you spent 10, 15 minutes just giving them a few pieces of information about how a piece of equipment works, and then once they have an understanding of, oh, that's quite complicated, then they understand a little bit better.
Nice. Thank you.
If that would be something you'd be willing to share, we could definitely kick that out to the group
Absolutely.
now that we have the list of attendance.
But when I get internet back, I can share it with Russ.
Absolutely,
distribute.
Because I'm sure a lot of us are running into similar conversations. You're talking to safety professionals. We all understand this. It's conversing with those that don't understand this where it gets challenging. So
well, it was interesting for me because the people I had to present this to was not the project management level. It was the executive level management.
Yeah.
And then they brought it down to their management level to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, guess what's coming? And you're not going to like it at first, but it's going to be better. So that was huge for us, because once the executive level was happy with it and confident, then they shared that down their ranks. So I didn't do the food chain up. We kind of high down.
excellent.
Nice. Yeah, very
So
good.
let's do this. When I do get the docs from Chris, if you'd like us to send that to you, there's an open-ended question at the very end of our feedback, our meeting evaluation. There's an open-ended question at the very end. If you'd like us to send that proposal to you, just make a comment to that effect, and make sure your email address is on the optional blank on that meeting evaluation, and we'll get it to you.
One tidbit of information that made this transition for us go well: one of our executive managers, Mr. Clint Wolfley, and when we brought Jake Williams in on the team from LJB, Mr. Wolfley looks at him and goes, "I know your brother. I wrestled him in college." So lock, stock, and barrel, done. So
That's awesome. So what's next for you, Core, in continuing its fall protection growth?
since we started and went live in November last year, we started training 6 months beforehand. So our 2 years has come up and is starting to expire on all that training. So we're going through the process of refreshers now. And we're taking our 8-hour authorized person class, and our training team is helping me get it down to about 4.5, 5 hours for the refresher piece of it, where we're going to focus on the equipment again, but now we're going to start have the authorized persons look at hazard evaluation in a different format. We're going to use some examples, and they're going to actually have to do kind of a little bit of their own planning, if you will. So we'll still reinforce the equipment and the dangers, but now we're going to go into a little bit more hazard recognition and control from the authorized person, from the worker standpoint. And then the competent person level, same thing. We're going to take from 30 hours down to 8. And again, we're going to hit inspection heavily. We're going to do a lot more working with the forms, the survey process, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, we're just going to focus on the equipment, because a lot of changes have come out in the equipment. And I have my personal opinion on manufacturers. Some that I used to trust heavily, now I'm very skeptical about based on their customer service and their quality control. So there's where feedback from the workforce says, I really like this brand, or I really like that product.
Sure. So do you guys plan to make any use of that allowance in 359.2 for refresher training being the skills evaluation?
That's where we're going to go and make sure that they haven't just forgotten about it, because
Nice.
if you don't use the systems routinely, you're going to forget. So there's where we want to take the refresher back to the skills based. Okay, get the hands on, get the harness on them, get the connection process going again, and then what are the risks of each, and then how to inspect each. So we're going to go from a big lecture base 8-hour with all that to hands on and risk analysis.
Right on. Good deal. Are you going to come out to Orlando so people can meet you?
I hope. Unfortunately, it's going to be right in the middle when I'm in the throes of all the refresher classes.
Good deal. There we go.
Neil.
Yeah. So what's your total workforce? Because I might have missed that. How many people have you sent through training? And then obviously you're gonna go through this other cycle. What would be the time frame that you're gonna go through this other cycle? How long are we looking at, and how many people are we looking at? And then also, how many people do you have in a class? And I apologize if you mentioned
No.
any of those. I just missed them.
No, you're good. Of our company of 2,500 staff total, that is about 800 craft. So okay, so we've had to teach all of our craft the fall protection. We've had to teach our supervisors, our foreman, our general foreman, and then certain management level in the field, and then a lot of subcontractors that have come through. So not only our own company, but the companies that support us, we've gone through and educated them as well. So of our, like I said, all those employees of the up to 1,900 now, just authorized person. That's the end user that we've educated in the last 2 years. So now it's going to start that cycle of all of those employees that we've trained going through that refresher process. So we hit it hard 2 years ago in July with the authorized person. So we want to start end of May, beginning of June with our refresher classes. So that's going to be a several month process of hitting the ground running, and where my management is going to be a little upset with me because I'm not going to be in the field. I'm going to be in a classroom. And my authorized person class, the worker class, I do not like going above 20. 20 is a lot. Any more than that, and I need a second teacher in the classroom with me, especially the hands-on portion of it, because you give a bunch of iron workers a bunch of fall protection gear and they're going to go like children and run around the classroom gigging each other. So I try to keep the author.
I find that hard to believe.
So I try to keep our authorized person class to 20 or less. Our competent person class, I don't like going above 10, period, because it's so in depth, it's so hands-on, and the questions that come out of even that group of 10, I want to make sure that we slow down and answer those questions methodically so that they have a huge understanding.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Now, by the way, also great presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
What do you do to stay sharp, Chris?
Me?
To keep your learning moving forward?
constant reading. And going through this whole process, I was actually nominated to join one of the subcommittees for Z359.1. So I was nominated and accepted. So now being on one of the subcommittees for ANSI, I'm able to see a lot of the behind the scenes of how ANSI works, and then just education, me doing all that teaching, and then as the industry changes and grows, making those changes along the way. So I go through a lot of webinars. I watch Tom Kramer and see on Instagram or LinkedIn what webinars he's coming up with, or others in the industry, what webinars they're coming up with, because there's so much information now, and the changes that are coming in ANSI soon are fantastic. But as a whole, all of us, if we don't continue that learning curve, it's use it or lose it, just like we try to teach the workers. So staying sharp, joining those webinars, situations like this, it's all we can do as a group and as a country of safety professionals to change the industry.
Fantastic. Unless anybody has anything else for Chris, you would switch back over. Thank you, Russ, for dropping that in there. Since we're going to strong arm everybody, if you want his presentation, that you got to do the survey. Here's our link to our survey. Russ just dropped it in the chat as well. Please, any kind of feedback that you guys have for Chris, the meeting as a whole, how the chapter's operating, we appreciate all your feedbacks. We do take it to heart, and we use that for how we are gonna adjust our practices in the future. And I'm sure that from a presentation standpoint, our presenters appreciate the feedback as well, and how the topics are received, how they can improve the presenting it to other future individuals as well. So please, it's great information that we need to have, and it sounds like you're going to get a awesome proposal for your leadership on fall protection if you need to stand some of this up for doing it. So other than that, that is all we have for today's meeting. I do want to thank everybody for coming. Unless there's any additional questions for the recording, I'm going to give a couple seconds here, and if not, then we're going to go ahead and cancel the recording. No? All right.